You know, sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, there's just some things that are hard to understand, hard to explain, even when you've read the Bible hundreds of times, even when you've got over 100,000 hours of study in the biblical scriptures. There's things that you go over and you go over and you go over, and they just don't ever really make any sense to you. And one of those things to me has always been when Moses was talking to Pharaoh and saying, "Let my people go." And then Pharaoh would say, "No, you can't go." And then all of a sudden, after a plague would come, then he would say, "Go ahead and go." And then, I'm trying to get this out of the scene. And then he'd say, "No, you can't go." And this whole thing just went backward and forward, backward and forward, backward and forward. And I never could really quite get, I can never really quite understand it. And it never made good sense to me why it was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth like that. Well, I think that I might have come to an understanding, and I think that the very plain answer might have been staring us in the face the whole time. So we're going to talk today about the Ark of the Covenant, the biblical plagues of Moses, Pharaoh, and Moses, "Let my people go." And I've got an interesting, very exciting announcement for you tonight. You know, we have the consequential rapscallions, and we will have myself and Scotty Roberts, your usual consequential rapscallions. And we're also going to be joined tonight by Rocky Stucci. That's right, the Italian meatball. Shut up. Rocky Stucci will be with us tonight, and it's going to be a powerful program. So I invite you all to be here tonight at 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time. So consequential rapscallions tonight with Rocky Stucci. So it's going to be a great time. I think it's going to be a great time had by all. So make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you are there with us, because you don't want to miss out on that. But let's go back to this whole Exodus idea. You get into Exodus chapter 4, and God supposedly, Yahweh supposedly, we'll just call him the Lord, because I don't really think he's Yahweh, and I certainly don't think he's God. But the Lord starts telling Moses, "Go talk to the Pharaoh and tell him that I want him to let the people go so that you can come out into the desert and worship me." And we all know, and I think Pharaoh knew, it only makes perfect sense that if you let a people go 3 days out in the desert with all of their stuff, they're not coming back. So I think Pharaoh knew that once they were gone, they were gone. So you got this whole thing going back and forth. They go into Pharaoh and they say, "Let us go out into the desert, 3 days journey. Let us, go out and worship to our God, and we'll come back and everything will be fine." And of course, Pharaoh said, "Not only no, but hell no. And obviously you guys don't have enough to do. So now not only do you make bricks for us, but you go and gather your own straw to make the bricks." And, I hate to throw this in here, but I have to. This is probably all a fairy tale. And I know that upsets some of you, but it's probably all a fairy tale. It's probably all an analogy. It's probably all a story anyway, but we're learning the real lesson behind the analogy. So then they said, "Okay, since you did that, we're going to have a plague come." So a plague comes. And then, of course, Pharaoh says, "Okay, you can go." But then he says, "No, it's just kidding. You can't go." And this goes on and on and on down through 7 plagues, right? And finally, Pharaoh says, "Okay, you can go." But then he says, and goes after them. So it's just the weirdest thing. You can't go, you can go. No, you can't go. Okay, get out of here, but I'm going to come after you. Because I think there was much, much more to it. And if you remember, I did some teaching on this a while back. It's my belief, and I think it's taught in the scriptures, that Moses appealed to an extraterrestrial entity. This extraterrestrial entity is the Lord, and the Lord is associated with Marduk, even calls himself Marduk. And I don't know if he really is Marduk or if he's just trying to use the name of Marduk from the Enuma Elish, because Marduk proclaimed himself the king of the gods, and the god said, okay. So I don't even know if he's really Marduk. I think he's a pretender to the throne. And I'm not even sure he's here anymore. But at any rate, Moses makes a deal with this entity. This entity says, okay, I'll work with you. What's in it for the entity? Why would this entity work with Moses? Because if the story's true and if everything they tell us is real, then Moses was nothing but a deposed king. I mean, he was in Egypt, and then he got kicked out of Egypt, or left Egypt, however you want to look at it. He's wandering around in the desert. He's a sheep herder, a goat herder, whatever. And he's got a bunch of people that are goat herders. So why does this entity, the Lord, want to work with Moses for? Because it's quid pro quo, Clarice. Trust me. This entity's not going to work with Moses for nothing. And of course, Moses was a master of magic. Moses was a master of the Egyptian rites, which were arguably the most advanced magical rites on the planet. So Moses knew a whole lot about that stuff. And of course, the entity called the Lord also knew that Moses knew. So then did they leave Egypt with some fava beans and a nice Chianti? I don't know. But there had to be something in it for the Lord. I think the Lord said to Moses, I'll work with you. I'll give you my juice. But you got to come out of there with that Ark of the Covenant, which was probably the Mhulu. Same thing. So if you think about it in those terms, all of a sudden, it starts to make sense. If Moses goes to Pharaoh and says, listen, we want to leave, but we want to take the Ark of the Covenant or the Mhulu with us. Moses and Pharaoh's like, no way. Then a plague comes, bad stuff. Okay, get out of here. And then they say, get ready to leave. We're going to take the Ark. No, you can't go. And then finally, even when that horrible plague comes, a plague of death, and we're not even going to talk about a God that would kill babies, and they get the Ark, they start heading out, and Pharaoh's thinking, what the hell did I just do? Not only did I let these guys go, but I also let them take the Mhulu. I let them take the Ark of the Covenant with them. Now, what they did to me, they can do to anybody. Why would I have let them do that? So there he goes to go after them and try to get it back. So when you look at it through that lens, it makes a whole lot more sense. What Moses and Aaron were saying was, let our people go. And truth be told, Pharaoh was probably about sick of them anyway. Let our people go. And remember, it's all an analogy. Let our people go. And we're taking the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, no, you're not. Bad things happen. Okay, go. No, I can't let you go. Final plague happens. Get the hell out of here. And now they got to go back and try to get it back from the people that have just stolen it. Michelle Cannon Free, great line. We all need context lessons or context lenses. Very good. Very, very good. And somebody says that the ark may have been Egyptian. Yeah, it may well have been Egyptian. That's why they had to steal it from the Egyptians. I would argue that it is Egyptian. But anyway, and maybe the Ark of the Covenant contained maybe the Mhulu went in the Ark of the Covenant. How about that? Because the Mhulu seemed to be, from what I've read, and I'm no expert, the Mhulu of the Enuma Elish and of the Sumerian writings seemed to be a handheld device. Seems to have been a handheld device. Whereas the Ark of the Covenant obviously was not a handheld device. It had to have a number of men to move it. And Rocky Stucci, who will be with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on a special edition of the Consequential Rapscallions, has just popped in the chat room to say hello. So make sure 9 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, you show up for the Consequential Rapscallions, a great special with Rocky Stucci. And we're also going to have a special Last Stand this next Sunday with Rocky Stucci. And we've got a special Last Stand. I'm not sure what day it is, but it's been a special day with Laura Eisenhower. So a lot of powerful people coming on the show. It's going to be great stuff. So make sure that you check it out. But when things don't make sense in the Bible, you've got to start looking to make sense of what doesn't make sense. You got to start looking between the lines. You got to start looking around the corners. You got to start turning things over. So if they were, we want to leave, but we want to take this, no, get the hell out of here. Oh, let's go get it back. Now it begins, ladies and gentlemen, to make a little bit more sense, at least from where I sit. And I've been bombarded, and I hate to segue on you like this, not so elegantly, but I've been bombarded by a lot of people asking me, what about the Trump thing, the wall thing, the shutdown thing? One thing that we've learned over the years, ladies and gentlemen, is that when the government and when politics are saying, look over here, look over here, look over here, it's a good idea to look over there. So we might consider right now, with all of this stuff going on with the shutdown and the wall and this and that, what are they trying to distract us with? So let's think about something else that might be trying to be brought in surreptitiously. And we'll talk tonight with Rocky Stucci about that. Rocky has a great handle on geopolitical events and geopolitical intrigue. And I hear some rumors about Rocky, but I'm going to let Rocky confirm those or deny those tonight, or maybe on the Last Stand. But lots to talk about, lots to think about. But just remember, folks, we don't get it straight up. The only place you get it straight up, well, I won't say that. The only place I'm sure you get it straight up is here on the Christian Whistleblower channel, because I'm not smart enough or a deep enough thinker to do all those shenanigans. But I'm sure this isn't the only place that you get it straight up, but this is the only place I know for sure that you get it straight up. And Tanya Robbins makes an interesting point. In Christian churches, the ones that are power-based, like the Pentecostals and Charismatics, they always have their hands held up. And she asked, is the hand, oh, hell, she said hand, I thought she said hand held up thing. Is the hand held up thing having to do with the Ark of the Covenant? Maybe. And then she even says, she just said holding hands, which they do a lot in church too. Does that have to do with the Ark of the Covenant? Well, it certainly has to do with the creating and pooling and cycling of energy, doesn't it? No doubt. So yes, Michelle says it's straight up here, no chaser. It'd probably be better if I added some chasers, but you know, I don't even drink, so that idiom goes right past me. Goes right past me. Very interesting times that we live in, very exciting times that we live in, and I still remain very optimistic. I still have a great positive outlook, because I know that even if this whole thing blows up, ladies and gentlemen, all is right with my spirit, and I am ready to go, and I'm ready to rock and roll with whatever comes next, ladies and gentlemen. And just like in Egypt and just like in the Bible stories, it's never what it seems. There's always truth mixed with error. And they are trying to be diversionary towards us. So begin to look for the story behind the story, or as Paul Harvey used to say, the rest of the story. Begin to look for that. Begin to think like that. Begin to be an offensive thinker. Begin to be a person that doesn't just take what's given at face value, but begins to look, and hello to the cold Netherlands, and begins to actually look at things and think of things and guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, be your own guru, ladies and gentlemen. The time is far spent for you to just be taking everybody's word for it. No doubt about it. Tonight, special Consequential Rapscallions with Rocky Stucci, the emotional meatball. And we are going to have some great times tonight. We've got great broadcast excellence coming up, podcast excellence coming up in the next few days and weeks. I think this is the year that we're going to explode and become even more effective in getting the information out that allows people to make better decisions, because that's what we're about. I'm the mailman. Sometimes I bring you checks and you love me. Sometimes I bring you bills and you hate me, but I'm always going to bring you all the information you need to make the best possible decisions for yourself, for your enlightenment, and for us collectively. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are the last generation of real humans. We are the last generation of real humans, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for us to stop being unsophisticated. It's time for us to get ourselves unindoctrinated. And ladies and gentlemen, it is certainly time for us to recognize we're the last generation of real humans. And time for us, ladies and gentlemen, to get busy.